rated T to M. Hey, want to hear a PC Game Pass ad? I'll take your silence as a yes. Want new games on day one like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or Stalker 2? I thought so. How about unlocking all the League of Legends champions when you link your Riot Games account? All for one low monthly price? Well, guess what? We got you. Learn more at xbox.com/PC Game Pass or click the banner. Stalker 2 available November 20th, 2024. Game catalog varies by region and over time. And that's the end of the script.
Hello and welcome into the Birds of the Round Table. For the Eagles win their 9th game in a row, and yet the entire fan base and Twitter is melting around edition of the podcast. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. We're going to get into everything Panthers game related, maybe some Brandon Graham, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts discourse, and of course turn the page and preview the Eagles' upcoming matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Joined, as always, by David. Give him a follow on Twitter at PHL Eagle News. David, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. I'm happy that they're 9-0 in whichever facet they win by. I really don't care. They could kick 8 Jake Elliott field goals and win 24-23, and I'll be happy. Just keep winning, baby. Who said that? Al Davis? Was that Al Davis?
Sure did.
If they kicked 8 field goals and that turned into 24 points, I would fall out of my chair. I would be so happy. But
they just got to be under 30 yards. But yeah.
Also joined by Ryan Reese. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how'd you feel about Kenny Gainwell picking up that 2nd and 13 on the opening drive of the game?
Listen, it was pretty impressive. I was, there's a part of me that secretly was rooting for him to score a touchdown just so that this could be over with, and I could reveal my surprise to the people. But we'll go another week with it. We'll make the same bet, and if he scores again, we'll do something nice for all those Kenny Gainwell fans, all 3 of them, his parents and the one person in the chat.
All right, so the bet stands here. As soon as Kenny Gainwell scores a touchdown, Ryan's got a surprise. And you guys might have noticed that we're missing our normal 4th co-host here. Dibes is gone today. I don't know the whole story. I know that Ryan is trying. I know Dibes could be a little better with how he responds to things. They were friends before this, but things have changed. And I'm totally kidding. Dibes is out today. He's got some... Was it a recital or something for his daughter? He's got something going on with his kids and couldn't make it this evening. So he will be back in the saddle with us next week. The chat is already hopping. We got Roto Stud on Twitter says that David finally taught him how to comment on the show. So shout out to David. Doing great work behind the scenes. We've got Ravens fans in the chat saluting, need us to beat the Steelers. And I love, our chat just here bantering back and forth with Ravens fans. No ill will there. That's always fun to see. So welcome to the show, guys. We're going to dive into it. Before we get to the Steelers preview, we're going to recap this game against the Panthers. The Eagles win 22-16. It looked dicey down the stretch as the Panthers moved the ball past midfield with the potential to walk it off with a touchdown. Ultimately, the Eagles defense stands strong. Behind some really aggressive play calling by Vic Fangio, I might add. But let's go to the offensive side of the ball first, because I feel like that's what everybody wants to talk about. Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. Give me your offensive takeaway from this game.
Yeah, I just really only have one word. Passing. Just not up to snuff, clearly, as A.J. Brown started this humongous snowball that's flying fast down the hill. But listen, it's clearly the passing game wasn't working. It seemed like Jalen Hurts was a little late on some throws, missed some opportunities perhaps. While I kind of maybe disagree with there's a large sentiment out there that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith were just running around with 0 people on them the whole game. Still, Hurts certainly could have been better, but again, it wasn't like a bad Hurts game. I would just say it was a game. And obviously we relied on our run game as I said we would, and it doesn't always look like it's working, but it's always working, and thank God for that. And they were able to rely on some stops with the defense, and the offense was live to play another day. So move on. Let's play for the Steelers.
All right, David. What was your offensive takeaway, and anything you want to add on or yell at Ryan about there?
Oh man, jeez.
I'll stay positive with the running game and the Eagles' offensive line. I mean, the Eagles ran for over 200 yards for the 5th time this season, which is just an incredible number. Jalen Hurts got in the mix. He ran for 59 yards, including his longest scramble of the season, which was, I think it was 35 yards, and he was sprung by Kenny Gainwell there, Ryan, who made a fantastic block on that 35-yard scramble.
He did.
And obviously, Saquon Barkley passing LaShawn Shady, the great McCoy, for the all-time single-season rushing record. He only had 9 carries in the first half, but he ended with 20 and 124 yards, 6.2 yards per carry average. He's really not shown any signs of wearing down. Neither has the offensive line. And with a strong finish, he might even have a shot at Dickerson there. And Gainwell continues to thrive in his little niche role as well. He's played well in pass pro, provided that key block that I mentioned, and he added 26 yards on 3 carries. So, that formula works. I know it isn't everybody's favorite way to win, but protecting the ball, running, relying on the number 1 defense in football has racked up 9 wins in a row, and it's kind of hard to argue with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got a comment here from Q that passing is the new practice. We're talking about passing, man. Not the win. We're sitting here talking about passing. I love that.
A good one.
Yeah, that's a good shout out there. Love that one. Yeah, the run game, it's crazy. It didn't seem like a good run game, particularly like by Eagles standards. And you look up at the end of the game and they've got 200 yards. And some of that was some key Hurts scrambles. And that's such an important thing that he brings to the table. I thought the Eagles did really well running the ball using like gap schemes. Their counter stuff, their counter bash stuff is really good. I would like to see them do that more. To me, the thing I guess I want to, you guys can go check out my show I did with Johnny, my film review show. We basically just walked through the Eagles passing attack. It was like almost an hour of our show. So you can go check that out on YouTube here on the Pinpole Network. You can download the podcast, whatever. I also put out my Jalen Hurts pass game review. It's like 36 minutes. It's in our Patreon. You can go grab a free trial and watch that video if you want like a more structured thing. I'm not going to reiterate all that, rehash all of that here. But I kind of want to focus in on like the opening script. I mean, that's been a big thing we've talked about. And the Eagles have been terrible. And it's funny, if you actually go look at like their EPA and success rate quarter by quarter, it gets better every quarter throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
And so, it's week 14. The Eagles are still starting games slow. But you look at this game and first play of the game, Lane Johnson commits a holding penalty. Now all of a sudden you're 1st and 18. Like, you're going to be a running team. It's hard to be in 1st and 18. You can't be behind the sticks like that. And then Kenny Gainwell pops off a great run on 2nd and 13. It's their counter bash stuff. And all of a sudden you got out of that hole, and then you dial up a play action pass and you just totally don't block a guy, and Hurts gets waylaid. And there's nothing he can do about it. Like, he's getting hit as he's completing the play fake. And all of a sudden you're behind the sticks again. And you can't have those sort of negative plays. And I said on the post-game show that I thought the offensive line played really poorly. And then I looked up the PFF pressure statistics, and they were great. Like, the offensive line only allowed like 3 pressures the whole game, or 4 pressures. And as I watched the film, I was like, the offensive line played really well on like 94% of the snaps. And the ones where they messed up, they just like, it was an epic collapse. Like we're talking leave a guy totally unblocked to the quarterback, and to the point that there's not a lot Hurts could do about it. And so that's tough. Like when you're going to drop back to pass 25 times in a game, you can't be having 3 or 4 plays where you just whiff protections. And so that the offensive line is supposed to be the strength of the offense. That's got to come together. There's scripting things, there's design things. Johnny and I got into a lot of that, but I thought on the post-game show, this was a really bad Hurts game. After watching the film, I think it was a bad Hurts game. I don't think it was as bad as I thought. I think it was a rough Hurts game passing the ball. He still did some incredible stuff running the ball, and he threw a couple of touchdowns, but process-wise, I didn't think it was his best. I thought the design was bad. Like, the Eagles are too reliant on curls and got to have it situations, and they're not throwing the ball deep anymore. 3 of Hurts's 4 lowest ADOT games, average depth of target, are in the last 4 games. So the Eagles aren't pushing the ball downfield anymore, and I can't tell you why. I don't know if that's we're just being cautious. I really don't know. But the passing offense has got to figure it out, because you can play behind a really good rushing attack and a really good defense, but all of a sudden when you have a game where the running game doesn't click quite as well and the defense is missing a lot of tackles, you can almost lose at home to the Panthers, and you can't have that in January football. So they need to take a step forward. AJ Brown's right about that. Maybe not in the way he's addressing things, though. So that's kind of my offensive spiel. Anything else that you guys want to call out offensively before we get to the defense?
I mean, I agree with what you just said. I think a lot of things that people are complaining about are not so much on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. I don't believe they fall on him. A lot of it is play design and game plan. Like you said, they're not even trying to get the ball down the field. So when people keep hollering that he should have done this, he should have done that, that's not even available. It's not even in the route tree on some of these play designs. So I think he's been hindered by that. And again, I don't know why. Like what you said, it's clearly by design though, and it's clearly a game plan, situation that's happened, that's been, constructed, and he's played within the construct of the game plan. So I don't really know what the answer is there, but it isn't just him not unleashing these things. A lot of them are just not in the route tree on these plays to begin with.
Yeah, I think it is, like you said, a lot of design, but I think in the design, it's almost built in for Hurts to play. I don't want to say cautious, because that's not technically the right word I really want to use here, but there's not a lot of taking chances, and again, I think it's a lot by design, because they realize when they play mistake free, when they play turnover free, they win football games, plain and simple, and it's working. So why are they going to stray from that? So I think they're digging their feet in this style for the passing game of, hey, let's try to be as cautious as possible. Again, not necessarily wanting to use that word, but this way we can limit the opportunities the other team has to create a turnover. So,
and this is a good week to do that. I mean, This is a team you should have beat anyway. Like, this is, if you're going to try a new way of doing things, this is when you do it. You don't wait until the playoffs. You try now.
Yeah, if it's Jalen Hurts hasn't had a turnover-worthy play in 4 weeks.
Right.
He also hasn't had a big-time throw in 4 weeks. And I remember talking about last year on Chalk Talk with Mark, and I think I mentioned this on the post-game show. I've mentioned it somewhere, so apologies for repeating myself, but I haven't said it to you guys. The listeners have heard it. I remember with Mark last year when CJ Stroud as the rookie was like setting the rookie consecutive pass attempts without an interception record. And I kind of in jest, but not wholeheartedly, said to Mark that CJ Stroud would be a better quarterback if he had a few turnover-worthy plays. Like, if you tried to test those boundaries sometimes, and it's a fine line to walk. Like, you want to take care of the ball. You don't want to be reckless, but you do want to be aggressive. I remember a quote that I came back to when I was doing Kellen Moore stuff in the offseason after the Eagles hired him. And one of his quotes was that he was saying that we want to aggressively take what the defense gives us. And I don't feel like the Eagles did that in this game. I feel like there were some times the defense was giving them things and they weren't aggressive. They didn't take it. So they're too far on the caution side right now, but you don't want to go too far the other way. You got to find that balancing act.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
Okay. Well, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. A lot of missed tackles in this game. I'm going to be honest. I thought Bryce Young was awesome in this game. He throws the interception before half. That's a bad play. It's probably vision related a little bit. That was always going to be a concern with him, but I thought Bryce Young played awesome. And I was happy for Bryce Young. He's been through so much. I really want him to pan out and to be a good quarterback for the Panthers. And I got a buddy that's a Panthers fan, and we talk about Bryce Young a lot. And early this year, it was like, yeah, I think you're taking a quarterback. And now it's like, I think you might have the quarterback. And so that's fun to see. I thought he played really well. They only put up 16 points, though. And the Eagles defense, despite the missed tackles, they had a hard time getting Chuba Hubbard down to the ground. I thought this was one of their worst tackling games. I looked this up earlier. The Eagles have had 4 games this year where they had 10 or more missed tackles. 3 of them are in the last 4 games. That's something to keep an eye on. The tackling, and of course, you've played Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. You've played Bryce Young and Chuba Hubbard, so that comes into it too. But David, what was your thoughts watching the defense in this game?
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, and I agree also about being a little excited for Bryce Young there. I don't want to see it happen against the Eagles, but yeah, he has gone through hell. And as far as the Eagles line, you mentioned Hubbard there. I thought Nolan Smith struggled a little bit in this one and setting the edge. He had trouble in this one with Hubbard, but I'm not concerned about it. He's been a force all year and has steadily improved. But my biggest takeaway was the interior pressure. It was those defensive tackles, man. Jalen Carter was dominant as always. Most of the pressure that came to Bryce Young was from the interior defensive line. Carter had 3 QB hits. He had 2 TFLs. He did some acting when he was pushed and flopped to the ground. But he was one of the more disruptive forces in the NFL and in this game. Moro Ajoma provided interior pressure, chipping in with 2 QB hits on only 21 snaps. His pressure rate was incredible in this. Milton Williams, he was good as well. So I think that's, people keep talking about the edge rushers, but interior pressure is probably more disruptive than edge pressure to begin with. And the Eagles are damn good at it, man. And getting a 7th round pick to be able to perform the way he is incredible. The coaching, I would say, is probably the biggest difference between the teams last year and this year. Just up front, the defensive backs, they all deserve some applause, man, because they have made a huge difference in the way this team has turned around. Because a lot of the players aren't that different.
I forgot he was a 7th round pick. I had in my head he was a UDFA, but he was a 7th rounder. Yeah, absolutely. And you watch this, like Tristan McCollum really struggled, I thought. I didn't think Jalix Hunt had a great game, and he made some plays. He had a great tackle on Bryce Young in space, but overall, like as a pass rusher, he's not quite getting it done right now. There's flashes. Like I'm not saying bad things about him, but like the Eagles' plan was not for Jalix Hunt to be playing 30 snaps this season.
Right.
He wouldn't play defense probably at all if Brandon Graham and Bryce Huff, Bryce Young, Josh Huff, Josh Sweat. Like this is a nightmare. If Bryce Huff and Brandon Graham weren't injured, and they really need the back end to get healthy. Like you need Reed Blankenship back, and they need Bryce Huff back. Even though he wasn't great at the start of the year, like it'll help out a lot to have guys that can go win off of the edge, because that's been a struggle, especially like the spot opposite Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat's been good. Nolan Smith has had some good moments, and you can't kick Bryce Huff inside either. The Brandon Graham injury just really stinks, but taking away some of those snaps from Jalix Hunt would be a good thing once they've got the personnel back to do that, and that'll help him out a little bit too. And I love Jalix Hunt's motor. Like he's high motor, kind of like Nolan Smith. Last year, things weren't going well, but Nolan Smith was swarming to the ball every time he got a chance. you can go a long ways with athleticism and a high motor if you're coachable. And so I've got high hopes for Jalix Hunt down the road. Ideally, we're not going to see him 30 snaps a game in the playoffs. That would be what's best for the team. So hopefully we see that. Bryce Huff comes back healthy soon as well. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the defense in this one?
Yeah, listen, Jalen Carter continues to be a dominant player, slowly becoming one of the most dominant players in the league. Yes, no one is fooled by his flopping, but it sure is funny as hell.
Hey, the dude doesn't get a call. I don't fault him for trying.
No, right, exactly. He only gets held 98% of the time. Honestly, I thought Darius Slay and Mitchell had really good games. I think Slay honestly has had a really good season, and I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. Just for who he is, but quietly he is having a very, very good season, and I think he's been one of the top reasons why you have two rookie DBs that are in the Rookie of the Year watch, who are clearly going to be the future of this franchise at the defensive back position. And it's mostly because of his, tutelage. But, I will say on the bad side, Coop didn't have his greatest game, for sure. He definitely had one of those, kind of
NFL.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good way of putting it. It seemed like Adam Thielen sort of had his number, but still, those are learning experiences, and I'm glad that there's a lot of good to take out of this. Is the Eagles got away with a victory when they played overall poorly. So I hope they can take away what they did negatively and realize that, hey, this wasn't working, whatever, let's change it. Let's move on. They have been really good at adjusting throughout games and throughout this season. Hopefully this is another learning, experience for this team and for this defense who, let's be honest, wasn't up to their normal standard that they've set for the last previous 8 games. So.
Yeah, I think, and it's also fair to point out, there was some bad luck here. A 4th and 2 that Jalen Carter tips up that somehow becomes a reception. Right. It's a game of inches. And so did Josh Sweat miss safety on Bryce Young in the end zone on that last drive? There were multiple points in this game where I was like, it's just not your day. And so to be able to win that game, even though it's against a 3-win Panthers team, they've been a lot better. They took the Chiefs to the wire. They took the Bucs to overtime in consecutive weeks. They've played better.
Yeah.
They're better than their record indicates right now. So the Eagles get out with a win. Let's flip it over to player of the games. Every week we shout out separate guys, so we can't all say Saquon Barkley. But David, I'll throw it to you first. Who do you want to go to for player of the game in this one?
I'm giving it to Big Play Slay. I echo everything Ryan just said. He was targeted 11 times in this game. He only allowed 2 receptions. He forced 2 incompletions. I think the passer rating was 39.6, including defending the last play of the game that the Panthers did to preserve the win. He came up big, man. And I agree that he has been very unheralded. His role this season, a lot of people thought would just be to, with mentoring, but it has been far beyond that. I mean, he is playing very, very good football, and for them to get where they want to be in February, they're going to need him healthy, and they're going to need him to play the way he did this past weekend, because he was very good on the field. He was a difference maker on a day where other players like Cooper DeJean struggled a little bit. Slade did not.
Yeah, it's the life of a cornerback, because I thought he played really well too, but on 3rd down, the play before the last play of the game, he got beat on a cover 0 blitz for what should have been a touchdown, and Xavier Legette dropped it. And it would be an entirely different, people would have entirely different feelings if Legette catches that pass. I would not want to be an NFL cornerback, because 90% of fans don't understand what's happening on a given play if they were looking at the defense. And also most of them aren't looking at the defense to begin with. So it'd be like, oh, you gave up the touchdown and it's one play. But he had a really good play on that fourth down to break that up, tracking Thielen all the way across the field.
What
did he say? What did he say on the?
He said, "My 33-year-old legs couldn't keep up."
At least he's honest, you know.
Yeah.
Legette's a rookie,
23-year-old kid. Yeah, I mean,
23-year-old kid. He's obviously gonna burn right by him, but
yeah. All right, so Darius Slay from David. Ryan, who is your player of the game?
Man, that was a good one. I was definitely going to go there. CJGJ for coming back in. Yeah, right. Exactly. Otherwise, we might be seeing more Vontae Maddox on the field. Oh, good Lord.
He left the game twice, didn't he? 2 different times and came back.
So, yeah. I'll go with Jalen Carter. Again, I think he has been the most consistent thing we have on this defense, day in, day out. He is constantly getting pressures. He is constantly clogging up the middle. He is constantly making it a nightmare for opposing offensive linemen and opposing quarterbacks. And again, he may not have gotten Bryce Young down, but he sure was in his face quite a bit.
Yeah. I'll agree with Q here, and I'll go with CJGJ. He has that huge hit to separate the ball from the receiver at the catch point. I think that was the third down on the Panthers' opening drive.
Yeah, it was Legette.
People were upset with Legette for dropping that last one that could have been the touchdown. I'm just telling you right now, I wouldn't have even been in the game still. If I got hit like that. So
yeah, we'd all be dead.
So I'll give it to CJGJ. You get the interception. That's kind of one of my rules. You get a pick, you probably get a shout out for player of the week. So I'll give it to CJGJ, but I was really hoping one of you guys would take him so I could shout out Zach Bond because he was incredible again as well. But
he was.
He's just like, that's just expected now. Like if Zach Bond doesn't make the All-Pro team, we riot.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does anybody know what the Eagles' record for tackles in a season is? I want to say it's like Alex Singleton.
It probably is.
Right, but like it's got to be like 130, 140.
It says right now most tackles in a season by an Eagles player is 102. D'Amico Ryans and Jeremiah Trotter are tied. Well, I'm assuming that's solo tackles.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
It's always hard to look up tackles because
that's definitely solo tackles.
Yeah,
TJ Edwards, I think, had more than that.
That's what I was thinking. I will find that and report back to you here in a minute. But let's turn the page. Let's talk about the Steelers matchup. Eagles host the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a bigger game for our Ravens friends in the chat, than maybe for the Eagles. Honest, I mean, you want to win, you want to play good, you want to be healthy. But with the Lions beating the Packers, the 1 seed is probably it's almost unattainable for the Eagles. Certainly, still want to win the football game. But David, give me your top matchup to watch: Eagles versus Steelers.
I went with what everybody's talking about. I went with Jalen Hurts in the passing game versus the Steelers defense. The Steelers have the 4th best run defense in the league, so it might be one of the games where they're going to have to rely on Jalen's arm more than they have in these recent victories that they've had going down the stretch here. The Steelers are 18th in the NFL in allowing passing yards. I think is a little over 3,000. But they have been good. They've only allowed 14 passing touchdowns, which is 7th best in the NFL. They're also 7th in the NFL with completion percentage allowed, and they have forced 15 interceptions. So for a team that's going to be cautious of trying not to turn over the ball, the Steelers are advantageous in this area to try to take it. They're 3rd best in the league in taking the ball. So protecting it will be paramount, which fans should really love. They are average in the league in sacks. They're like, I think they have 32, which is just right middle of the pack. They allow an average of about 218 yards per game. So Hurts should have time in the pocket like he did this past week. We didn't speak on that, but he had a lot of time, and he should be able to have time again. The passing game needs to work in tandem. The receivers need to create more separation. I looked up the numbers today. Smitty is 27th in the league in separation, and A.J. Brown is 99th. The 99th receiver in target separation. They will likely need a couple of big plays from him and their star receivers and Smitty. So they need to get back on track like they were earlier in the season. Some of the deep balls. I know we all complained about all they ever did was 4 verticals, and now they don't do any for a month. But they need to get back on track with that. I would probably start by calling a few less quarterback draws, maybe, and put those as pass targets.
Yeah.
But it should be a fun chess match to watch. I expect Hurts to sling it more after a season low 108 yards, I think it was, against the Panthers, which was a season low. The Steelers are going to be without their best offensive weapon in George Pickens, so it might not end up being a shootout. Of course, those are the ones that sometimes turn into it, but you never know. So they might be able to rely on Saquon, but they're going to have to get a little bit more out of Hurts in this game than 108 yards if they want to come out of it with a W on Sunday night.
All right. So there you have it. Going right back to the passing game. And Cameron with the same thing that I found.
I had my hand up. I was going to tell you because it's on that same page because I assume you were right there with me on StatMuse.
Yeah.
If you click on combined tackles, you'll see 159 for TJ Edwards. I was correct, though, in saying that Alex Singleton did have 130 something. He had 137 the year before.
Yeah. I first went to regular tackles and I sorted by combined, but I was like, what if the guy wasn't on the total tackle or the solo tackles list? So anyways, all that to say, the combined tackle record for a season is 159 by TJ Edwards in 2022. Oh. And then the Eagles let him walk in free agency. Now Zach Bond has 129 tackles through
30 away. And he's also 3 away from tying the solo tackle record because he has 99.
So he is on pace for 169 tackles. So he's on pace to surpass it by 10.
Nice.
He is also at a 10 tackle a game pace. And so if he didn't play the last week, like it would be right there. So nice. We may once again break the tackle record and then let that guy walk in free agency.
God, I
really hope not. I'd
much rather have Zach Bond this year than TJ Edwards that year.
Yeah, same. TJ Edwards was the fringe top 10 linebacker that season.
Right.
Zach Bond is like a top 2 linebacker in the NFL right now. It's insane.
Exactly. And TJ Edwards is doing what now?
Well, I mean, he went to Chicago. So.
Yeah, exactly. So he's not doing diddly squat.
All right, Ryan, what is your matchup to watch in this one?
So just wanted to make sure that you didn't shout out a matchup in the chat before, but so I have no fear of stealing anything since you didn't announce it. So I am going to go with the Pittsburgh pass rush versus the Eagles offensive line. I think this is 2 heavyweights going right at each other. Not only do you have, TJ Watt, but, you have the wily veteran in Cam Hayward, and you have Highsmith, who's also very good. You also have, trying to think of his name. Who is the guy I'm trying to think of? Oh, Nick Herbig.
I was a big Nick Herbig guy in the draft.
Yeah.
He was one of my guys.
Yeah. So, so the pass rush is pretty intense. Watt has 9.5 sacks. Hayward, who seems like he's been playing for 30 years at this point, he has 8 sacks. Herbig and Highsmith both have 4. This is a team that loves to get after the quarterback and loves to put pressure. They lead the league in quarterback knockdowns. And so I expect them to continue to want to do the same against Jalen Hurts. I'll say that the offensive line is going to have a great day, is an understatement, but also the game plan for this. I think we're going to need to use less of the Jalen Hurts, runs, because I think they're just going to swallow that up whole. So if you try and do like a quarterback draw, and run up the middle, I think that it's just going to get swallowed up. So I hope that they are prepared for that and come up with some intricate ways to maybe get AJ Brown the ball. Last time this kind of happened, let's be honest. AJ Brown said something about the passing game. It was right before the Pittsburgh game, and then look what happened. There's too many memes after that game of him embarrassing D-backs in the end zone. So let's hope the same happens. But I'm looking forward to this matchup. Two heavyweights going at it.
Yeah, bet the AJ Brown overs.
Yeah, he's gonna go nuts.
Yeah, we're not big fans of PFF grades here, but for PFF grading, a 90 is elite. 60 is average, 90 is elite. The Steelers have pass rushers: Nick Herbig 92.9, Alex Highsmith 90, Cam Hayward 88.4, TJ Watt 88.0, Keanu Benton is at 80. Yeah. So they've got a really good group rushing the passer. Like we said, Eagles offensive line played good except for when they kind of sucked for a few plays last week. Let's not have those plays this week. I'm going to go to that, by the way, I'll show you in the chat later where I said that was going to be mine, but that's no. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson against the Eagles defense. The Steelers, Russell Wilson's injected life into the passing game in a way that I didn't think that he would for Pittsburgh. And he's not who he used to be, although who he used to be gave the Eagles fits. But in this, Dan Orlovsky tweeted this earlier, in the 7 games with Russell Wilson as a starter, Pittsburgh has the most explosive pass plays, or the most explosive passing game in the NFL. 25% of their completions go for 20 plus yards, which is an interesting matchup with an Eagles defense that allows the 3rd fewest explosive passing plays in the NFL. And so the Steelers are a team that they are going to run the ball a lot for 3.5 yards a carry, and they're going to throw deep balls. And the Eagles have been really good at not giving up those explosive plays. Now, it might hurt that game plan that George Pickens is injured right now. And it kind of seemed like when Mike Tomlin talked earlier that he was trending towards not playing. It's still early in the week, but George Pickens has a really good connection with Russell Wilson, and he's kind of a freak at receiver. So that's something to monitor. If you're going to monitor something on the injury report this week, keep an eye on George Pickens. Because if he is not back, that will dramatically help out the Eagles. Got to go to a comment here that Cameron said, referencing TJ Watt, he went to Chicago. So
TJ Edwards.
He went on to say that, TJ Edwards, sorry, that's a future quote about Caleb Williams.
Just might be. I hope not, because I'm rooting for him just like y'all are rooting for Bryce Young. I hope he gets a fair shot in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into our picks of the week. Let's start with our score predictions. I'm going to write these down because Dibes isn't here. Ryan, what do you have?
I'm going to go with 31-30 Birds.
All right.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think there's going to be a late score to make it a 1-point game, and it's going to be a little heart attack for the last couple of minutes, but I think they pull it out.
All right, David, what do you have?
I went 24-19 Eagles.
I love how me and David are keeping the streak alive.
I think I went half a point above the over. I think that's 43. I think.
Yeah. Let's see. I will take the Eagles. I'm gonna say.
Whoa.
Let's see. 24 implies they make a field goal. So.
Oh wow, that's rough.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go.
Poor Jakey.
I know. I'll say 27-21 Eagles. Okay. Over under was set at 42.5 points. I think that puts all of us on the over.
Yep.
So we're all over. Let's go to player of the game. David, I'll throw it to you first.
I think it's going to be A.J. Brown.
All right.
Nice.
That is a good pick. That's who I would have gone with. Brian, what about you?
All right. Well, in order to piss off another person, although he's not here, I'm going to go with Jalen Carter.
All right. I will go with. I'm going to go with Saquon. That makes the most sense.
That's really smart.
Okay.
Can I intervene with one statement real quick? It's with the A.J. Brown. The Eagles media team released a transcript from Kellen Moore a little while ago. And his quote was, "I'm going to focus more on trying to find different ways of increasing the likelihood of the ball going to him," A.J. Brown. Ultimately, the quarterback has to play based on the reaction of the defense and trust that there's progressions within a play. For us, we're always going to evaluate how we can get the ball to him, A.J. Brown, sooner and create those opportunities. It's really about creating probability. So it sounds like they're going to make it a focus to try to get him the ball.
They will throw 3 slants to A.J. Brown within the first 6 plays of the game.
Guaranteed. And who knows? Maybe they might actually start doing something in the first quarter.
Yeah, no kidding. If so, I bow to Brandon Graham. It was good. Over under Saquon rushing yards 99.5. I'll take the over if he's my player of the game. He's got to hit 100 yards.
He should.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to go over as well.
All right, David?
Yeah, I'm going over. He seems to get 100 yards even when it doesn't look like he did anything. Like it's like every week he's got 120
I feel like that,
yards.
Yeah, that is honestly the beauty of Saquon Barkley, and something obviously we, or at least myself, never truly realized because you're not watching him every game when he was out in New York. But man, he just slowly but surely he gets his yards. He wears you down. And gets stronger. He gets stronger. Third, fourth quarter. That's when he gets his, 8 or 9 yards a clip, and maybe he breaks one off for 25 yards, and boom, he's over 100 yards, and you're like, how the hell did that happen?
How many games this season do you think Saquon Barkley has failed to reach 100 rushing yards?
I think it's one game.
David?
I was going to say 2. I don't know.
Dallas game.
Dallas game is one.
And man, there was definitely another one, I think. But
there's actually 3 other ones.
Was there? Oh wow.
Cleveland. He only rushed for 47 yards against Cleveland.
Oh wow.
He rushed for 84 yards against Tampa and 95 yards against Atlanta.
Okay. I thought he had over 100 for Atlanta, but
yeah.
All right.
The Dallas one makes it like the Dallas one just wasn't a game.
No, yeah.
I don't remember.
He had like 2 rushes.
Yeah, I don't remember them struggling to run the ball. 18 carries for 47 yards against Cleveland.
I don't remember that either.
And against Tampa Bay, he averaged 8.4 yards per carry.
He's been given the ball.
100 yards.
Yeah. I honestly don't even remember that we played Cleveland. It was so long ago, I feel like. Honestly, I totally forgot about it.
All right, Jalen Hurts versus Russell Wilson. Who has more passing yards, David?
Jalen Hurts.
All right. Ryan.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think they're gonna make, again, because of all the drama BS, I think they're gonna make a slight point of emphasis to try and get some more throws. And with Russ without his top weapon, it spells Hurts over.
Yeah, I will take Hurts as well, mainly because if George Pickens was healthy, I would take Russell Wilson here. But I will not. Eagles versus Steelers defense. Who gets more sacks, Ryan?
I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Traitor. David.
Said the guy who constantly picks against the Eagles.
Man, that's the hardest one of all these, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Eagles.
All right.
Yeah, when in doubt, go Eagles.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers.
Hey!
I think their pass rush is too good. Obviously, the Eagles have a really good offensive line. Cameron mentioned earlier our top 4 offensive players via PFF grade last week were all offensive linemen. So it's going to be a great matchup. If you like watching the battle in the trenches, this is going to be a great weekend for it. But
absolutely.
Ultimately, the Eagles are holding
Russ
the
been
ball
sacked
for
much.
I don't think I'm not sure. I'll look it up. But
I should have looked it up before I made my pick, but but I didn't
Jalen Hurts has been sacked a lot, though, so holding the ball for a long time. So Russell Wilson has been sacked. Let's see.
He normally is sacked quite a bit, but I feel like his numbers are lower this year.
Yeah, once against Cleveland, twice against Cincinnati, 4 times against Cleveland, 4 times against Baltimore, 3 against Washington.
That's not bad.
All right, I'll take those odds.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep rolling along here. Over under receptions for Devontae Smith at 4.5. David, what do you have?
I'm going to say under because I think he only gets 4 receptions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go under.
Yeah, I'll also take the under. AJ Brown's getting those targets this week.
Yeah, I sure hope. Honestly, I missed out on $1,100 because AJ Brown couldn't get me 7 more yards.
Oh, rough.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
All right. Najee Harris, over under rushing yards at 39.5. Ryan.
Oh, say that again?
Najee Harris, rushing yards, over under 39.5.
Over.
All right.
Yeah.
David, what do you have?
Consistently getting over 50.
Yeah. Pound the over on that one, man.
Yeah, I will take the over as well. The last time he was held under 39.5 yards was week 4 against the
there's classic pumper for you.
Hurts under 100 yards passing.
I love it. Comes in late, brings all the negativity. I love it.
Can you imagine if, like, after all the controversy about the passing game, the Eagles just come in the first possession of the game and hand the ball off like 10 straight times and score their first drive touchdown of the year.
Right.
And it ends with like 280 yards rushing for Saquon and Hurts throws like 8 passes. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, that would be funny.
Like, would people be upset? I mean, would AJ
Probably.
Brown be upset? Would Eagles fans be upset?
No matter what we do, people are going to be upset. I mean, there were people leaving the game the last week just saying Hurts has got to go. Like, there's always those people that are, at any moment are going to go walk up and jump off that bridge. So, there's no helping him. So, exactly. Cam gets it.
People will be upset regardless.
Doesn't matter. We could win 30 games in a row. They'd be like, yeah, well, it's not 31. Bums.
I'll tell you what. I'd rather be upset after a 45-0 win than I would a 21-20 win that makes me sweat it out. So, dang it, let's just blow them out and we'll find something to be upset about later.
Right, yeah.
All right. I know what I can be upset about. Tom Brady's on this game. Getting him off my TV.
Oh, well, thank God I'll be there, so I don't got to worry about it.
All right. Over under AJ Brown receiving yards. The line is set at 89.5. That is a line that he has only gone over twice since the bye. David, over under 89.5.
I think he crushes it. I think he's over 129.5. I think he's going to have a big day. All
right, Brian.
Way over. I'm so with David on this. That we are some poor cornerback from Pittsburgh is going to not only lose their mind but lose their job.
His name is Joey Porter Jr.
I mean, listen,
he should have been a first-round draft pick.
Should have been
awesome, but he's not AJ Brown.
He's not AJ Brown.
Yeah. Sidebar: if you're Mike Tomlin, I just like bracket AJ Brown every play. Like,
why wouldn't you? I'd triple team him if I could.
I will take the over as well. So we're on the same page for a lot of these this week.
Well, let's make sure that Dibes loses his first place since he's not here. Since I didn't get credit for the week I missed, he shouldn't get credit for any of his this week.
We'll see if he remembers to send his picks in.
We're going to lose it in the mail.
Last stat I'm going to share, because this is a streak that's going to come to an end this week per all of our predictions. But the Steelers have won 7 straight games outright as underdogs, raking back to last season. They're 5-0 as underdogs this season. They are 4.5-point underdogs on Sunday. So a chance to ruin the little Mike Tomlin streak. The Steelers have been really good throughout the years. in those situations. But hopefully the Eagles can notch their 10th straight win, and we'll have Dibes back. Him and Ryan will patch things up off the air, and we'll just keep it professional and all that stuff. But so hopefully we'll be back here breaking down another Eagles victory next week. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Cameron said they did try triple teaming AJ Brown before, and he was counting them while they were on the ground.
Yeah, right. Exactly. 1, 2, 3.
David, I'll throw it to you for any final thoughts. Anything you want to plug, man? The floor is yours.
No, you can just follow everything I put out at PHL Eagle News. Get on the latest post I did. There's probably about 100 comments of saying how bad Jalen Hurts is. So join in or defend them, whichever stance you have. Go in and join in. But give a follow to everybody else. Thanks for all the support. Keep supporting the Eagles Pinpool Network and all the shows that we're putting out there. And thank you for participating tonight with all of the questions and interactions, man. That's what makes the show the best one out there, is all the fan interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys all for joining in. Be sure you're following David and all of his work. It's awesome. Great written stuff there. Glad we were able to talk him into hopping behind a microphone with us a year and a half ago now.
I know, right? What a chance we took, and it sure paid off.
What a turning point for the show. He spearheaded the rebuild here. Ryan, plug your stuff, man. Tell the people where they can find you, what you got going on.
So I'm right here at Philly Sports PSA on X. You can follow me because apparently Twitter, X, whatever. I'm just losing followers left and right again. I don't know. Maybe David is right. Maybe I need to stop threatening to beat up former players. But listen, I can't help it. But I will say, real quick, I don't hate all backup running backs. In fact, literally right here, I have a Super Bowl sign right here by number 30.
Corey Clement. Right.
Also Fletcher Cox is on that one. But anyway, yeah, but still. What was I going to say? Yes, make sure not only are you liking, following, commenting, we appreciate all of it, but make sure that you're following Eagles Pinpool on where you get all your podcasts, where YouTube, Facebook, X, all of it. Comment, like, follow, share. Share it is huge. We do appreciate it. Everybody in the chat, you're the reason why we continue to do this show and why it's so much fun and why we are, without any bias, I can honestly say we are the best Eagles show out there. So, but yeah, make sure you're following everybody here. And if you're following Dibes, just unfollow him for like a week. That'd be really funny. I'd laugh.
I do have to mention that last week I hit every one of our picks except I took the over for Eagles sacks at 2.5. I just saw Dibes sent that in the chat. So great week for me.
Nice.
Follow me for more picks from the guy that is no longer hasn't been doing sports gambling for like a year and a half now. But yeah, thank you guys all for joining in. You can follow the network all kinds of places on Twitter at Eagles Pin Pull, on YouTube at Eagles Pin Pull, the Eagles Pin Pull Network, wherever you stream your podcast. Please go rate, review, subscribe. You guys listening to those episodes or downloading them, however it clocks it all, is part of how we're able to monetize this. You can also check us out on Twitter. Every show we stream goes to my Twitch account, twitch.tv/halfandhalf. If you have an Amazon Prime membership, you can get a free monthly subscription, which kicks a little bit of money our way as well. So go check that out on Twitch. But thank you guys all for joining the show. We'll catch you guys next time. Be sure you're following these guys on Twitter. David is at PHL Eagle News. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. I am at Shane Half NFL, and we will catch you guys next time.